YouTube, what's the deal? It's your girl Jahaira, and I am back. Hi. What's going on, y'all? Um, so this is the start of this new series that I'm trying out. This is highly experimental at the moment, and as you can see, it is known as Beat and Blab. And essentially, what that's about is I don't want to fall into the pattern which I have been known to do in previous times, of letting life kind of preclude me from making videos, which is something that I love to do. And thankfully, we've got a good thing going here. So, I mean, it's pretty beneficial for, everyone involved. But for me, life has gotten, significantly busier over really the past week. And it's been about finding a pocket of time in which I could do that. And so for me, talking to y'all about really anything at all while putting on my makeup is it is really multitasking and the best possible use of my time, and it kind of kills two birds with one stone. I hope I didn't say that already. So here we are. Um, so I'm going to be throwing on a face and just chit chatting with y'all. And for future reference, if there's anything in particular you'd like for me to talk about, drop it below and we'll get it going. Ideally, anyway. Um, I'd like for this to become a constant thing, or at least a consistent thing. Um, so I really want to start by thanking all of you who, despite seemingly insurmountable circumstances, made your way to my Ustream, trying to figure out how to do that godforsaken YouTube live thing was complicated, to say the least. And it wasn't easy. So I did end up on Ustream. I think about 30 of you guys came in. And again, just thank you. Thank you. I had a blast. I had such a good time. At that moment, I really felt like, I'm back. It was an unbelievable experience for me. And I'm so glad that y'all were a part of it. Truly, I cannot thank you enough. Um, and for those of you who attended the Ustream, you know, because I mentioned it, that as of Monday, today being Wednesday, I have officially started school again. I'm back in college. And it's nuts. It's glorious and amazing and friggin' nuts. Um, I started on Monday, as I mentioned, and so far it's been an incredible experience. Like it's really worked to allay my fears around my own success and just kind of the insecurities that come with being somebody like me in an environment like that. I never really believed that, I thought that school was kind of something that happened to other people, for other people. And I had a lot of layered and nuanced feelings around my own self-worth, whether I even deserved an experience like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've gotten in there and it hasn't sucked, which is really nice. Um, Monday morning, I walked up the hill because you literally walk up a hill to get to school. Forgive me, I'm staring in my mirror over there just because this webcam can only do so much. Um, and I mean, I was in a shit panic. Like, I sat there just going, how in 8 billion years am I going to get through, 4 years of this? Having come from, I don't want to say doing nothing, but certainly not anything that requires such a myopic focus, How am I going to get through this? And then I sort of had this epiphany that you don't have to worry about that right now. Like, all you have to do is get through today. Today you can manage. Today is a manageable task for you. You can do anything for one day. So with that attitude, I walked in there and I had an amazing day. I had a fantastic day. It was nuts. Like, it was so out of the box from what I was expecting. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it was a really beautiful thing. And in situations like that, I love being wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I really believed that I was going to hate it, and that nobody would like me, and I wouldn't relate to anybody, and they'd think I was weird. I mean, just sort of like all that old high school stuff. Like, just not knowing where to sit at the lunch table, in the lunchroom kind of thing. Like, all of that came up. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm as old as I am, 36. And in that moment, though, I'm like 15 and horribly insecure. Like, um, but I was delightfully mistaken. And I'm just glad. I'm really glad. And, for those of you, once again, who weren't able to attend the Ustream, I explained, and I'll briefly touch on it again here, like, a big part of the reason for my, I'm doing the wrong thing right now. A big part of the reason for my departure, if you will, is that, you know, I sort of pride myself on not being phony. Like, that's kind of a big thing for me, is that I strive to remain as authentic as possible. And the last year that I spent in Louisville, I really did not feel like I could do that effectively, because I was not living in my truth. I wasn't really being honest about, where my life was and what I needed at that time. And so at that point, if I can't deliver to you the very thing that this channel purports to be, then I shouldn't be on the channel. So I let it go. I temporarily, just stopped. And I'm oh so grateful for everybody that's managed to stick with me, all that time. And for all of you new subtastics who have cropped up, despite whatever may have led you here, it's meaningful and it hasn't gone unnoticed. And so I've really recommitted myself to trying to, deliver content that that speaks to the heart of who this channel is and what this channel is, I should say. So I am back and I am here, and school is going well. For the record, I'm majoring in human services. And right now I am considered a full-time student. I am taking 4 classes. I have 2 classes that are specifically around human services. And I have an intro psych, introduction to psychology, and an English 101 or composition 101, depending on what my professor feels like saying at the time. It's just, I've been kind of enthralled by it, honestly. Yesterday was the day that I officially was introduced to all of my classes. I had my 2 human service classes on Monday, and then yesterday I had my intro psych and English 101. And my workload is already looking, well, scary. I mean, scary. It's always scary. I mean, again, it's like kind of out of the frying pan into the fire, I mean, I haven't had an experience like this in quite some time. And so to go from no schoolwork to what feels like kind of a crap ton of schoolwork, it's intimidating, but at the same time, it's like I just kind of have to remind myself and keep reminding myself of where I've come from, like just and not in some crazy existential way, but like just that you've managed to get through stuff that on its face is so much harder than this. You know what I mean? So it's like, and you didn't put a great deal of forethought into it before you got it done. You know what I'm saying? Like you just did it. That's all there was to it. And so, if it's kind of like if you can do that, you can do this. You know what I mean? And if the worst thing that happens is that I can't do this, like at least I can be reasonably confident in the knowledge that I tried. And you know, even if you fail on a genuine effort, at least there's a lesson to be learned out of it. So I'm managing. This process has involved a lot of like affirmations and self-talk and phone calls to my mother. I won't for a second sit here and say that it's just been easy, and really the journey that led me here in the first place certainly wasn't easy. I mean, I left home and hearth um, with really nothing but the belief that something better than the life that I knew currently, lay beyond, and that, you know, my destiny, though I wasn't quite sure what that was, I just knew where it wasn't, um, was just tied to something greater than what I was currently aware of. And so it was a real fly by the seat of my sorry y'all. It was a real fly by the seat of my pants kind of moment. And but I took it. I took it with defying gravity from the Broadway musical Wicked stuck in my head. Um, and something
Taxi's here.
something pretty miraculous has come out of it. Um, my mom has just about had a stroke. Like, I don't mean that literally. Let me be really clear. It's just she's amazed that this is taking place. And she's really happy. Like, she's overjoyed. And, you know, I've made a couple of videos regarding the relationship between myself and my mother. And it is beautifully dysfunctional. But I have to say, in all honesty, that finally being in a position where my mother continues to express how proud she is of me, it's a pretty beautiful place to be. And being able to, you know, to offer her that, like, I can't even lie and say that that's not meaningful. It is. It's hugely meaningful, especially since, again, my mother's not a young woman, and her life has arguably been the agony and the ecstasy, possibly more of one than the other. You know, all the stuff that, I mean, again, I make no apologies for who I am, and y'all should know that. Y'all probably already know that. Um, but there is a piece around, finally doing something that my mother can kind of brag about to other people. Not that she necessarily would, but just to know that the option is there. And again, to just be in a position where I'm creating a life and a legacy that I can be proud of. I mean, the people who are closest to me would say that, like, you're kind of being silly because it's not like you haven't done anything before this. And perhaps they're right. I mean, I'm sure that they're right. But by the same token, there is a huge piece around quantifiable levels of success, stuff that, there's the personal stuff, each one teach one. And if you help someone along the way, that's a beautiful thing. And there's certainly a blessing in that. But there's also sort of like what society deems to be worthy of merit, and sort of the accoutrements that signify success. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who owns a boat or a home or a car for that matter. You know what I mean? Like I don't have property. I'm not, I ain't got a timeshare. Um, but this is something. It's really something. And when I went in to take my student ID picture, and they handed it to me, and I just saw my face next to the word student. Ooh, I could get a little choked up here, which would be really counterproductive to what's going on. Um, that was big. That was really big. Because I mean, I didn't expect. I didn't expect a lot of things. I didn't expect to live this long, and I I never expected that the day would come that like me going to school would be okay. I know that sounds silly. I really do. But I never believed that. I didn't even think they'd let me in. And a lot of that was just my own sort of fears and trepidations around my stuff and my life, and, you know, and my generation. I can't lie about that. You know, I've lost a number of friends through the years. A number of friends, a number of sisters, a number of people that I loved so much more than any video could possibly articulate. Um, and I'm from the days long before Laverne Coxes and Janet Mox and people who were willing to stand in such a public venue and declare themselves and subsequently declare us. I am from an era where simply not getting murdered was a mark of success. If you lived, you had done well, because so many of us didn't. The idea that I would see 36 was laughable. I mean, it was such a foreign concept, and I don't say that to be dramatic. It just was what it was at the time. Women of that era would tell their age if they chose to tell their age. They would tell their age and would be like immediately greeted with, "Congratulations, work, mama, you better do it." Like, you know what I'm saying? It was. I don't want to say unheard of, but you know, to be lauded, to be celebrated for reaching the middle of your 30s. If you think about any other demographic where that would happen, I mean, it's kind of, well, what the hell? But for us, it was a reality. Some would say still is, although I would say, less so now. Uh, but I'm here and I'm doing it. I'm in the fight. And that's kind of what I have to keep telling myself. Like, this is a thing and it's happening. And every time that alarm goes off at 6:45 a.m., which is the antithesis of my entire sleep cycle, and you get up and you throw on a face and you walk out the door and you walk through that school, you are performing an act of revolution. And I don't say that lightly as I attempt to put my nose ring in. Um, I also don't say it to grandstand or like with some like, unbelievable degree of hubris and stuff like that, but um it's not a small thing. It's not a small thing, and I'm not willing to treat it as such. Um because I feel the weight of those whom I have lost, and I do feel a sense of responsibility to them. Um, I feel like I'm taking them with me. That's the reality. I feel like Rita and Chanel and Deborah and Monique and Tyra and Gwen and Angie and all those, Amanda, all those girls. I feel like I'm taking them to school with me. Ha! Mascara. Mascara. Woo. Sorry. But I do. I do. And so it's just, you know, if I can be an example, certainly not the example, but an example of what it is possible, of what is possible um, for women and girls like myself, um, then, if I can just present another option, another way, and I feel like this life was not in vain. I pray it wasn't. Um, so yeah, that's that's me these days, y'all. And you know, I'm glad that you're with me on the journey. It is a beautiful thing, and I feel like only YouTube video makers truly can understand how unbelievable it is to have people that you've never physically met supporting you and cheering your life on every step of the way. And I'm incredibly blessed to have had that. And so please know that y'all factored into this decision in ways that you might not even be aware of, but you did. And you have my gratitude as well. Um, I'm going to sign off and head to school now. I love you. Thank you for riding it out with me. One love. School.